Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at Season 3 of Smallville. So in this season, Clark is still not ready to fully embrace his destiny, thus strengthening the conflict between him and his biological father, Jor-El. Meanwhile, the conflict between Lex and his father Lionel comes to a final blow, and more meteor freaks begin to terrorize Smallville High. So many consider this to be one of, if not the best, seasons of Smallville, because while the show still stuck to its roots at this point, it did open a few doors for what was to come along the way. As for me, while it's not my absolute favorite season, it is quite remarkable compared to the first two. So let's get into it. So first of all, I really liked Clark's character arc this season. You know, he starts out very rebellious and somewhat reckless in the process, even hanging out in Metropolis for a while, which will become important later on in the show. But he does show signs of recovery and redemption in the process, especially when he feels guilt over a price that Jonathan has to pay for him to see reason. His relationship with Lana has reached a bit of a dead end, but even in that department, there's still signs of recovery and redemption. And this is the season where Clark discovers his super hearing, specifically in episode 10, Whisper, where he's temporarily blinded, and this looks like his attempt at a Stevie Wonder impression. One thing I forgot to mention in my season 2 review was the introduction to the Kawachi Caves. These caves have cryptic symbols that Jor-El uses to communicate with Clark telepathically. Jonathan Kent has had to pay a steep price in order for Clark to get back on track, and you really feel the weight of this throughout the season. As for Pete, there's some interesting tension between him and Clark considering they're best friends, and it's evident in the episode Velocity, which was an attempt to capitalize on the Fast and Furious franchise. Lana befriends a young man by the name of Adam Knight, who's played by... who's this guy? I'm sorry, I don't watch Vampire Diaries, guys. I'm sure you know who he is. Anyway, she befriends him after an accident, but she suspects that he might be hiding something. Believe it or not, according to Ian Somerhalder himself, this character was meant to be Bruce Wayne, who, as we all know, ends up becoming Batman. And even though the producers have since played down this claim, the idea in of itself isn't too far-fetched if you think about it. Because, you know, Smallville initially started out as an origin story for Batman, and way back in season 1, in the episode Hourglass, when the old woman is looking into Lex's future, there's a couple of Easter eggs in one shot that include the helmets and body armor of various superheroes, and I think I saw Batman's mask in there as well. And there's even an episode later in the show that has a flashback with a young Lex, and I think one of the kids in the same school at him was Bruce Wayne. I can't remember, correct me if I'm wrong. Whatever the case may be, we all know that Warner Brothers simply would not allow for the use of Batman on the show. And that's largely due to the existence of the Christopher Nolan films, aka the Dark Knight trilogy. Brilliant trilogy, by the way.
I'm Batman.
But enough about that, because the true stars of this season were, no surprise here, the Luthers. The conflict between the two of these characters is just amazing to watch. Michael Rosenbaum and John Glover's performances were just outstanding. Following the cliffhanger ending of season 2, Lex develops a psychological breakdown throughout the season, and it leads to some of the darkest moments of the show. Meanwhile, for the first time ever, we have an overarching villain. For this season, it was Lionel Luthor. Lionel has a lot of secrets and confidential information regarding his past and the activities of Luthor Corp that obviously cannot be exposed. And several characters play their part in trying to expose him, including Clark, Chloe, and even Lex himself. And it was just brilliant to watch. Going back to the tone of the season, this is when the show started to get really, really dark. So dark that in fact the ratings unfortunately took a bit of a dip. And it was described by the producers as a mistake, which is why season 4 goes back to a much lighter, happier tone. But this is why the third season is held in such high regard today, because the show was maturing and so were the audience, even if it got too dark for some people. Plus there was a lot more stuff happening outside of Smallville High. You know, the season wasn't constrained by the restrictions of its high school setting. It just made the world of Smallville feel a little bit larger. There's also some really cool special guest appearances. First of all, there's the late great Rutger Hauer, may he rest in peace, who plays Morgan Edge, one of the villains. There's Michael McKean, the real-life husband of Annette O'Toole, who plays Martha Kent, and he plays Perry White in this season. And you'll also get to see him later towards the end of the show. And of course, we have another guest appearance by Christopher Reeve as Dr. Virgil Swan. Clark pays Dr. Swan another visit, but things don't play out the same way this time. This would unfortunately be Christopher Reeve's last appearance on Smallville. He would have returned for season 4, but unfortunately he passed away. May he rest in peace. And the finale was absolutely incredible, one of the most memorable finales of the 2000s when it comes to television. And it has one of the best cliffhangers, with tons of interesting threads dangling for season 4. Now, there are two major issues with Season 3, even though I really enjoyed it. Firstly, there are some pacing issues. The first half kind of gets bogged down by Monster of the Week episodes that don't really add anything to the plot, even though this season is for the most part very serialized. And then you get to the second half and the storyline with Lana and Adam Knight kind of drags it down a little bit. So much so that Clark's communication with Jarrell through the Kawachi caves takes too long to kick in. And it's just kind of shoehorned into the last 6 or 7 episodes of the season. And as usual, there's some episodes that aren't very good. And at this point, it felt like they were just recycling ideas for some of these episodes. But other than that, it's still a solid season. So yeah, that was my review of Season 3 of Smallville. Next time we're going to look at Season 4, the final season set in Smallville High. So thank you all for watching. Please be sure to like the video, share it and subscribe, hit the notification icon, be safe during this time, and I'll see you soon.